Welcome back to Official Sigma Male, the channel where we decode the mindset and behaviors that separate high-value men from the crowd. If you're tired of following the same cookie-cutter advice that keeps you blending in with everyone else, you've found your tribe. Today, we're diving deep into something extraordinary, the 10 habits that only the most courageous Sigma males possess. These aren't your typical self-help tips or mainstream masculinity advice. These are the raw, unfiltered behaviors that define men who walk their own path, create their own rules, and build empires in silence. The Sigma male archetype isn't about being antisocial or rebellious for the sake of it. It's about having the courage to be authentically yourself in a world that constantly pressures you to conform. What you're about to discover will challenge everything you've been told about success, relationships, and personal development. These habits require real courage because they go against societal expectations and demand that you trust yourself above all else. If you're ready to transform from someone who follows the crowd to someone who leads by example through quiet confidence and unwavering authenticity, then this video is exactly what you need. Before we begin, if you're serious about developing these Sigma male characteristics and becoming the high-value man you're meant to be, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We consistently deliver content that will elevate your mindset and give you practical strategies to build the life you actually want, not the life others expect you to want. Strategic solitude. The first habit that separates courageous Sigma males from the masses is their mastery of strategic solitude. This isn't about being a hermit or avoiding people out of fear. It's about understanding the profound power of intentional alone time and using it as a strategic advantage in life. Most men are terrified of being alone with their thoughts. They fill every moment with noise, distractions, social media, or meaningless social interactions because silence forces them to confront who they really are. The courageous Sigma male embraces this discomfort and transforms it into his greatest strength. Strategic solitude serves multiple purposes in the Sigma male's life. First, it's where real self-awareness is born. When you're constantly surrounded by other people's opinions, expectations, and energy, it becomes impossible to hear your own inner voice. The Sigma male creates sacred spaces of solitude where he can reconnect with his authentic self, evaluate his goals, and make decisions based on his own values rather than external pressures. Consider the example of successful entrepreneurs who credit their breakthrough ideas to moments of solitude. Steve Jobs was famous for his walking meetings, often alone, where he would process complex problems and generate innovative solutions. This wasn't antisocial behavior. It was strategic thinking time that allowed him to approach challenges from unique angles that groupthink couldn't provide. The courageous Sigma male schedules solitude like others schedule meetings. He might wake up an hour earlier than necessary to sit in complete silence with his coffee, no phone, no distractions, just pure thought-processing time. He takes solo trips, not because he can't find company, but because he values the clarity and self-discovery that comes from navigating new experiences independently. This habit also extends to decision-making. While others seek validation through group consensus or social media approval, the Sigma male retreats into solitude to make important life decisions. He understands that the best choices often come from deep reflection rather than crowdsourced opinions. This doesn't mean he ignores good advice, but he processes it privately and makes decisions based on his own internal compass. Strategic solitude also builds incredible mental resilience. When you're comfortable being alone with yourself, you become less dependent on external validation and more confident in your own judgment. This creates an unshakable foundation of self-trust that others can sense but can't quite understand. CD practice requires courage because it goes against our social programming. We're told that being alone means we're lonely, unsuccessful, or somehow deficient. The Sigma male rejects this narrative entirely. He knows that solitude is where strength is forged, where creativity flourishes, and where authentic self-leadership is developed. In practical terms, this might look like taking a solo camping trip to disconnect from technology and reconnect with nature and yourself. It could mean saying no to social events that don't align with your values, choosing instead to spend that time on personal development or pursuing your own interests. It's about creating boundaries around your time and energy, recognizing that your solitude is precious and not something to be given away carelessly. The strategic Sigma male also uses solitude for what I call life auditing, regularly reviewing his goals, relationships, habits, and overall life direction without the influence of others' expectations. This allows him to make course corrections quickly and stay aligned with his authentic path. Emotional independence mastery. The second habit that defines the most courageous Sigma males is their complete mastery of emotional independence. This goes far beyond simply not being emotional. It's about developing such a strong internal emotional foundation that external circumstances cannot dictate your inner state or decision-making process. Most men are emotional slaves without even realizing it. Their moods swing based on their boss's approval, their partner's reactions, social media feedback, or even the weather. They've outsourced their emotional well-being to external factors, creating a life of constant reactivity and internal chaos. The courageous Sigma male recognizes this trap and systematically builds his emotional independence like a fortress. Emotional independence mastery begins with radical self-awareness. The Sigma male doesn't just feel emotions, he observes them. Objectively, almost like a scientist studying data. When anger arises, he doesn't immediately react. He pauses and asks himself, what is this emotion telling me? What need or boundary is being threatened? How can I respond in a way that serves my long-term interests? This level of emotional sophistication requires tremendous courage because it means taking full responsibility for your internal state. It's much easier to blame others for how you feel than to acknowledge that your emotional reactions are ultimately your choice. The Sigma male embraces this responsibility because he understands it's the price of true freedom. Consider the example of a Sigma male receiving harsh criticism at work. Instead of becoming defensive, angry, or seeking validation from colleagues, he processes the feedback objectively. He extracts any useful information, disregards the emotional manipulation, and maintains his composure. His colleagues might be surprised by his calm response, but internally he's using the situation as data to make better decisions moving forward. The practice of emotional independence also extends to relationships. The Sigma male doesn't enter relationships from a place of neediness or emotional dependency. He's complete within himself, which paradoxically makes him more attractive and valuable as a partner. He can offer genuine love and support without the hidden agenda of emotional validation or rescue. This doesn't mean he becomes cold or detached. Instead, he develops what I call emotional sovereignty, the ability to feel deeply while maintaining his center. He can be compassionate, loving, and supportive while never compromising his emotional stability or core values. This creates relationships based on mutual respect rather than codependency. Practical emotional independence mastery involves several key practices. First, the Sigma male develops a daily emotional check-in ritual. This might involve journaling, meditation, or simply taking a few minutes to honestly assess his emotional state without judgment. He identifies patterns, triggers, and areas where he might be giving away his emotional power. Second, he practices what I call emotional aikido, the art of redirecting negative energy without absorbing it. When someone tries to manipulate him through guilt, anger, or drama, he remains centered and responds from a place of strength rather than reactivity. This often diffuses the situation entirely while maintaining his integrity. The Sigma male also builds emotional resilience through controlled exposure to discomfort. He voluntarily puts himself in challenging situations, public speaking, difficult conversations, physical challenges, not to prove anything to others, but to expand his emotional range and build confidence in his ability to handle whatever life throws at him. Perhaps most importantly, he develops internal validation systems that don't require external approval. His sense of self-worth comes from his own assessment of his character, actions, and growth rather than others' opinions. This creates an unshakable foundation that allows him to take risks, make unpopular decisions, and stay true to his values even under pressure. The courage required for emotional independence mastery cannot be overstated. It means standing alone when necessary, disagreeing with the crowd, and maintaining your principles even when it costs you socially or professionally. It means feeling the full range of human emotions without being controlled by them. Unconventional path creation. The third habit that separates courageous Sigma males from the masses is their natural inclination toward unconventional path creation. While most men follow predetermined routes, college, corporate job, marriage, suburban house, retirement, the Sigma male looks at these conventional paths and asks, who decided this is the only way to live? This isn't rebellion for the sake of being different. It's a deep understanding that conventional paths are designed for conventional results, and conventional results rarely lead to extraordinary fulfillment or success. The Sigma male has the courage to design his own life architecture based on his unique values, talents, and vision, rather than society's template. Unconventional path creation requires what I call societal immunity, the ability to resist social pressure and programming that keeps most people trapped in mediocrity. From childhood, we're conditioned to follow specific steps, get good grades, go to college, find a stable job, settle down, work for 40 years, retire. The Sigma male questions every single one of these assumptions. Consider the Sigma male who decides to skip college and start his own business at 18. While his peers are accumulating debt and studying theories, he's gaining real-world experience, building valuable skills, and creating income streams. By the time his friends graduate, he might already have a successful business and years of practical knowledge. This path requires enormous courage because it goes against every piece of conventional wisdom about success and security. Or take the Sigma male who decides to become a digital nomad, building a location-independent business that allows him to travel the world while others are trapped in cubicles. He faces constant criticism from family members who don't understand his lifestyle, but he's optimizing for freedom and experience rather than traditional markers of success. The key to successful unconventional path creation is what I call strategic nonconformity. The Sigma male doesn't reject conventional wisdom blindly. He evaluates it critically and keeps what serves his goals while discarding what doesn't. He might use traditional business principles while completely reimagining how and where he applies them. This habit also extends to career choices. While others climb corporate ladders, the Sigma male might create his own company, become a freelance consultant, or develop multiple income streams that align with his interests and values. He's not afraid of uncertainty because he trusts his ability to adapt and create value in any situation. The Sigma male also applies unconventional thinking to relationships and lifestyle design. he might choose to remain single longer than his peers, not because he can't find a partner, but because he's focused on becoming the best version of himself first. When he does enter relationships, he creates agreements and dynamics that work for him rather than following traditional relationship scripts. Practical unconventional path creation involves several strategies. First, the Sigma male regularly questions his assumptions about how things should be done. He asks himself, is this the best way to achieve my goals, or just the most socially acceptable way? This simple question often reveals opportunities for innovation and improvement. Second, he studies examples of people who have successfully created unconventional paths in areas that interest him. Instead of following career counselors or traditional mentors, he seeks out mavericks, entrepreneurs, and innovators who have blazed their own trails. He learns from their strategies while adapting them to his unique situation. The Sigma male also develops what I call failure immunity. The understanding that unconventional paths involve more risk and potential failure, but that failure is simply data for course correction rather than a reflection of his worth. This allows him to take calculated risks that others wouldn't dare consider. Perhaps most importantly, he builds multiple skills and income streams, creating what I call anti-fragile security. Instead of relying on one employer or one source of income like most people, he diversifies his value creation across multiple areas. This actually creates more security than traditional employment because he's not dependent on any single source for his livelihood. The courage required for unconventional path creation is substantial because it means accepting full responsibility for your results without the safety net of conventional expectations. There's no one to blame if things don't work out, and there's often little social support for choices that others don't understand. Silent confidence projection. The fourth habit that distinguishes the most courageous Sigma males is their mastery of silent confidence projection. This is perhaps the most misunderstood aspect of Sigma male behavior, the ability to command respect and attention without saying a word, demanding recognition, or putting on a performance for others. Silent confidence is the opposite of the loud, attention-seeking behavior that many men mistake for strength. It's not about being the loudest person in the room, telling everyone about your achievements, or constantly proving your worth through external displays. Instead, it's about developing such a strong internal foundation that your presence alone communicates your value. This type of confidence is particularly powerful because it's authentic and sustainable. Loud confidence often masks insecurity and requires constant validation to maintain. Silent confidence, however, comes from genuine self-knowledge, proven competence, and unshakable self-respect. It doesn't need external fuel because it's powered from within. The Sigma male with silent confidence walks into a room and immediately changes the energy without trying to dominate or draw attention to himself. People notice him not because he's demanding their attention, but because he carries himself with a quiet assurance that's magnetic. He's comfortable in his own skin, which creates comfort in others. Consider the example of a Sigma male in a business meeting. While others might be talking loudly, interrupting, or trying to impress the boss, he listens intently, processes information, and speaks only when he has something valuable to contribute. When he does speak, people listen because his words carry weight. He's not trying to prove he's the smartest person in the room. His contributions demonstrate his competence naturally. This silent confidence also manifests in body language and non-verbal communication. The Sigma male maintains excellent posture, not to impress others, but because he respects himself. He makes eye contact without staring, speaks clearly without shouting, and moves with purpose without rushing. Every aspect of his physical presence reflects his inner confidence. The development of silent confidence requires what I call competence stacking, the systematic building of real skills and achievements that create genuine reasons for confidence. The Sigma male doesn't fake confidence. He earns it through consistent effort, learning, and personal growth. This creates an unshakable foundation that others can sense but can't quite define. Practical silent confidence development involves several key areas. First, the Sigma male focuses on continuous skill development in areas that matter to him. Whether it's physical fitness, professional expertise, creative abilities, or social skills, he's constantly improving himself not to impress others, but because growth is part of his identity. Second, he develops what I call outcome independence, the ability to perform at his best, regardless of external results or reactions. He gives his best effort in every situation, but his self-worth isn't dependent on others' approval or recognition. This creates a relaxed confidence that's immediately noticeable to others. The Sigma male also practices strategic invisibility, the art of being present and engaged without seeking the spotlight. He can lead from behind, influence without authority, and make significant contributions without needing credit. This type of leadership is particularly powerful because it's based on genuine value creation rather than position or ego. Perhaps most importantly, he develops unshakable personal standards that don't fluctuate based on circumstances or social pressure. His confidence comes from knowing he's living according to his values and doing his best work, regardless of external recognition or rewards. The silent confidence of the Sigma male is also evident in how he handles challenges and setbacks. Instead of complaining, making excuses, or seeking sympathy, he quietly assesses the situation, learns from it, and makes necessary adjustments. His resilience speaks louder than any words could. This habit requires courage because it means resisting the temptation to seek validation through external displays of success or achievement. It means being comfortable with being underestimated or overlooked by people who judge based on surface-level indicators. The Sigma male understands that true confidence doesn't need to be proven to others. It simply exists as a natural expression of his authentic self. Selective social investment. The fifth habit that defines courageous Sigma males is their mastery of selective social investment. This isn't about being antisocial or elitist. It's about understanding that your time, energy, and emotional investment are finite resources that should be allocated strategically rather than randomly. Most men scatter their social energy across dozens of superficial relationships, trying to be liked by everyone and maintaining connections that drain more than they give. They say yes to every social invitation, engage in meaningless small talk, and invest emotional energy in people who don't reciprocate or add value to their lives. The Sigma male takes a completely different approach. Selective social investment means being intentional about who gets access to your time, energy, and inner circle. The Sigma male understands that not all relationships are created equal, and that trying to maintain meaningful connections with everyone is impossible and counterproductive. Instead, he focuses on developing deep, mutually beneficial relationships. With a smaller number of high-quality individuals, this approach requires what I call social courage, the willingness to disappoint people who expect your time and attention but don't contribute positively to your life. It means saying no to social obligations that don't align with your values or goals, even when it makes you temporarily unpopular. Consider the Sigma male who decides to stop attending weekly happy hours with co-workers who only complain and gossip. While his colleagues might initially be offended, he uses that time to pursue personal development, work on his side business, or spend quality time with people who inspire and challenge him. Over time, this selective investment pays massive dividends in personal growth and meaningful relationships. The Sigma male applies what I call relationship auditing, regularly evaluating his social connections based on mutual respect, shared values, and positive impact. He asks himself, does this relationship energize me or drain me? Does this person support my growth or hold me back? Is this connection based on genuine compatibility or just convenience? This doesn't mean he's calculating or cold in his relationships. Instead, he's honest about the fact that relationships require investment, and like any investment, some provide better returns than others. He chooses to invest heavily in relationships that are mutually beneficial, inspiring, and aligned with his values. Selective social investment also means being comfortable with smaller social circles. While others might brag about having hundreds of friends or connections, the Sigma male values quality over quantity. He'd rather have 5 deep, meaningful relationships than 50 superficial ones. This allows him to be fully present and invested in the relationships that matter most. The Sigma male also applies selectivity to his professional networking. Instead of collecting business cards at every event or connecting with everyone on LinkedIn, he focuses on building genuine relationships with people who share his professional values and can engage in meaningful collaboration. This approach often leads to better opportunities because his network consists of people who truly know and respect his work. Practical selective social investment involves several strategies. First, the Sigma male develops clear criteria for the types of people he wants in his life. This might include shared values, mutual respect, personal growth mindset, or complementary skills and interests. Having these criteria makes it easier to evaluate potential relationships objectively. Second, he practices what I call social pruning, regularly removing relationships that have become toxic, one-sided, or misaligned with his current life. Direction. This isn't done cruelly, but with honest recognition that people grow in different directions, and not all relationships are meant to last forever. The Sigma male also invests heavily in his existing high-quality relationships. He remembers important details about his friends' lives, offers genuine support during difficult times, and celebrates their successes without jealousy. This depth of investment creates loyalty and mutual support that superficial relationships can't provide. Perhaps most importantly, he maintains relationships based on authenticity rather than social obligation. He's honest about his interests, values, and availability, which attracts people who appreciate him for who he truly is rather than who he pretends to be. The courage required for selective social investment is significant because it means accepting that you can't be everything to everyone. It means disappointing people who expect your constant availability and attention. It means being comfortable with smaller social circles and potentially being labeled as selective or difficult by those who don't understand your approach. Internal validation systems. The sixth habit that separates courageous Sigma males from the masses is their development of robust internal validation systems. This is perhaps the most fundamental difference between Sigma males and other archetypes. The ability to derive self-worth, motivation, and satisfaction from internal sources rather than external approval. Most men are validation junkies without realizing it. They check social media for likes, seek approval from bosses, need constant reassurance from partners, and measure their worth by external metrics like salary, status symbols, or social recognition. This creates a life of constant dependency on others for emotional stability and self-worth. The Sigma male recognizes this trap and systematically builds internal validation systems that make him emotionally self-sufficient. Internal validation. Systems are like having your own personal board of directors that evaluate your performance based on your own standards rather than society's expectations. The Sigma male develops clear personal values, standards, and goals, then measures his success against these internal benchmarks rather than external comparisons. This doesn't mean he ignores feedback or operates in a vacuum. Instead, he processes external input through his internal filter system. He can receive criticism, praise, or advice, but his self-worth remains stable because it's based on his own assessment of his character, effort, and growth rather than others' opinions. Consider the Sigma male entrepreneur who launches a business that his family and friends don't understand. While others might be discouraged by the lack of support or negative feedback, he evaluates his progress based on his own metrics. Is he learning? Is he growing? Is he moving closer to his vision? Is he acting with integrity? His internal validation system provides the motivation and confidence to continue even when external validation is absent. The development of internal validation systems requires what I call value excavation, the process of identifying and clarifying your core values, principles, and standards. The Sigma male doesn't adopt values because they're popular or socially acceptable. He develops them through deep self-reflection, life experience, and conscious choice. Practical internal validation development involves several key practices. First, the Sigma male creates personal success metrics that align with his values rather than society's expectations. Instead of measuring success solely by income or status, he might evaluate his progress based on personal growth, contribution to others, creative expression, or alignment with his authentic self. Second, he develops what I call internal scorekeeping, a system for tracking his progress on the things that matter most to him. This might involve regular self-assessment, journaling, or goal review sessions, where he honestly evaluates his performance against his own standards. The Sigma male also practices achievement independence, the ability to feel satisfied with his efforts and progress regardless of external recognition or rewards. He takes pride in work well done, problems solved, and challenges overcome, even when no one else notices or acknowledges his contributions. Perhaps most importantly, he develops unshakable self-respect based on his own assessment of his character and actions. He knows when he's acting with integrity, when he's giving his best effort, and when he's growing as a person. This self-knowledge provides a foundation of confidence that can't be shaken by external circumstances. The Sigma male's internal validation system also includes what I call failure reframing, the ability to extract value and learning from setbacks without letting them damage his self-worth. He understands that failure is information, not identity, and uses it as fuel for improvement rather than evidence of inadequacy. This internal focus also extends to how he handles success. While others might become dependent on external praise or recognition, the Sigma male maintains his equilibrium, whether he's being celebrated or ignored. His motivation comes from internal drives rather than external rewards, making him more consistent and resilient over time. The courage required for internal validation systems is enormous because it means standing alone with your own judgment, even when everyone else disagrees. It means being confident in your decisions without needing others' approval. It means finding satisfaction in work that might go unrecognized and maintaining your standards even when it would be easier to compromise. Calculated risk acceptance. The seventh habit that defines the most courageous Sigma males is their sophisticated approach to calculated risk acceptance. While most men either avoid risk entirely out of fear or take reckless chances without proper analysis, The Sigma male has developed a nuanced understanding of risk that allows him to make bold moves while maintaining intelligent caution. Risk. Acceptance isn't about being reckless or impulsive. It's about understanding that all significant rewards in life require some level of risk, and that the biggest risk is often not taking any risks at all. The Sigma male recognizes that security is largely an illusion, and that true security comes from developing the skills, mindset, and resources to handle whatever challenges life presents. Most men are paralyzed by risk because they've been conditioned to prioritize safety above all else. They choose predictable careers, avoid challenging situations, and stick with familiar routines because they fear the unknown. This approach might feel safer in the short term, but it often leads to stagnation, regret, and missed opportunities. The Sigma male takes a completely different approach. He understands that calculated risk-taking is essential for growth, opportunity creation, and personal development. He doesn't seek risk for its own sake, but he's willing to accept it when the potential rewards justify the potential costs. Consider the Sigma male who decides to leave a stable corporate job to start his own business. Most people would consider this reckless, but he's done his homework. He's saved enough money to survive for at least a year. He's developed marketable skills. He's identified a viable market opportunity, and he's prepared for various scenarios. The risk is real, but it's calculated and purposeful. The key to successful calculated risk acceptance is what I call risk intelligence, the ability to accurately assess both the probability and potential impact of various outcomes. The Sigma male doesn't make decisions based on fear or wishful thinking. He gathers information, analyzes scenarios, and makes informed choices. This approach requires developing several key skills. First, the Sigma male becomes skilled at scenario planning. Thinking through various potential outcomes and preparing for multiple possibilities, he asks himself, what's the best case scenario? What's the worst case scenario? What's the most likely scenario? How can I prepare for each? Second, he develops what I call downside protection, strategies for minimizing potential losses, while maximizing potential gains. This might involve diversifying income sources, building emergency funds, developing multiple skills, or creating backup plans. The goal isn't to eliminate risk, but to manage it intelligently. The Sigma male also practices progressive risk-taking, gradually increasing his risk tolerance by taking smaller, calculated risks and building confidence through success. He might start with small investments, minor career changes, or limited commitments before making larger moves. This builds both experience and confidence. Perhaps most importantly, he develops failure resilience, the ability to recover from setbacks and learn from mistakes without being deterred from future risk-taking. He understands that some risks won't pay off, but that the learning and growth from taking calculated risks is valuable regardless of specific outcomes. Calculated risk acceptance also applies to relationships and personal development. The Sigma male is willing to be vulnerable in relationships, to pursue challenging goals, and to put himself in situations where he might fail or be rejected. He understands that meaningful growth requires stepping outside his comfort zone. The Sigma male's approach to risk is also influenced by his long-term perspective. While others might focus on immediate comfort or security, he's willing to accept short-term discomfort or uncertainty for long-term benefits. He might invest time and money in education, start a business with no immediate income, or relocate for better opportunities. Practical calculated risk acceptance involves several strategies. First, the Sigma male develops strong research and analysis skills, allowing him to make informed decisions based on facts rather than emotions. He seeks out information, consults, with experts and studies examples of both success and failure in areas that interest him. Second, he builds what I call risk buffers, resources and skills that provide security even when taking risks. This might include emergency savings, diverse skill sets, strong networks, or multiple income streams. These buffers allow him to take bigger risks because he's not betting everything on a single outcome. The courage required for calculated risk. Acceptance is substantial because it means embracing uncertainty and possibility of failure while others choose the illusion of security. It means being comfortable with being uncomfortable and maintaining confidence even when outcomes are uncertain. Authentic self-expression. The eighth habit that distinguishes courageous Sigma males is their commitment to authentic self-expression. This goes far beyond simply being yourself. It's about having the courage to express your true thoughts, values, and personality, even when it's unpopular, misunderstood, or socially risky. Most men live behind masks, carefully crafting their image to fit social expectations or gain approval from others. They say what they think people want to hear, pursue goals that look impressive rather than fulfilling, and suppress aspects of their personality that might be seen as different or unconventional. This creates a life of constant performance and internal conflict. The Sigma male rejects this approach entirely. He understands that authentic self-expression is not only psychologically healthier, but also more effective in the long run. When you're authentic, you attract people and opportunities that align with your true self, creating more genuine relationships and sustainable success. Authentic self-expression requires what I call identity courage, the willingness to be disliked, misunderstood, or rejected for who you truly are, rather than loved for who you're pretending to be. This is perhaps the most challenging aspect of Sigma male development because it requires giving up the safety of social approval. Consider the Sigma male who has unconventional interests or perspectives. While others might hide these aspects of themselves to fit in, he shares them openly. If he's passionate about philosophy, ancient history, or experimental music, he doesn't pretend to be interested in sports or mainstream entertainment just to connect with others. His authenticity attracts like-minded individuals and creates deeper, more meaningful relationships. This authentic expression also extends to his values and beliefs. The Sigma male doesn't adopt popular opinions just to avoid conflict or controversy. If he disagrees with the consensus, he's willing to express his perspective respectfully but firmly. He's more interested in truth and authenticity than social harmony. Practical, authentic self-expression involves several key areas. First, the Sigma male develops deep self-awareness about his true interests, values, and personality traits. He spends time reflecting on what genuinely excites him, what he believes in, and what makes him unique. This self-knowledge provides the foundation for authentic expression. Second, he practices what I call gradual authenticity, slowly revealing more of his true self in different contexts and relationships. He might start by sharing his genuine interests with close friends, then gradually becoming more open in professional settings, and finally expressing his authentic self in all areas of life. The Sigma male also develops what I call authenticity, resilience, the ability to maintain his genuine self-expression even when faced with negative reactions or social pressure. He understands that not everyone will appreciate his authenticity, and he's prepared for the possibility of conflict or rejection. Perhaps most importantly, he aligns his actions with his authentic self. It's not enough to know who you are. You must also have the courage to live according to that knowledge. The Sigma male makes career choices, relationship decisions, and lifestyle choices that reflect his true values and interests rather than external expectations. Authentic self-expression also includes the courage to change and evolve. The Sigma male doesn't get trapped in a fixed identity. He's willing to grow, learn, and express new aspects of himself as he develops. He understands that authenticity is a dynamic process, not a static state. This habit also extends to how he communicates. The Sigma male speaks honestly but thoughtfully, expressing his thoughts and feelings without unnecessary drama or attention-seeking behavior. He's direct but respectful, honest but considerate. His communication style reflects his authentic personality rather than a calculated image. The Sigma male's authentic self-expression also influences his creative pursuits and personal interests. He pursues activities that genuinely interest him, rather than hobbies that make him look impressive or well-rounded. If he's passionate about something unusual or niche, he embraces it fully rather than hiding it. The courage required for authentic self-expression cannot be overstated. It means risking rejection, criticism, and social isolation for the sake of personal integrity. It means being willing to stand alone when your authentic self doesn't align with group expectations. It means choosing genuine connection over superficial acceptance. Mental fortress construction. The ninth habit that defines the most courageous Sigma males is their systematic construction of what I call a mental fortress, an unshakable psychological foundation that protects them from external manipulation, emotional volatility, and mental weakness, while providing the strength to pursue their goals regardless of obstacles. Most men have weak mental defenses. They're easily manipulated by advertising, social pressure, and emotional appeals. Their confidence fluctuates based on external circumstances. Their mood depends on others' reactions, and their decision-making is compromised by fear, anxiety, and self-doubt. The Sigma male recognizes these vulnerabilities and systematically builds mental strength like a warrior preparing for battle. Mental fortress construction isn't about becoming emotionally numb or disconnected from others. It's about developing psychological resilience, emotional regulation, and mental clarity that allow you to think clearly and act decisively, even under pressure. It's about creating an internal foundation so strong that external storms can't shake your core. The foundation of this mental fortress is what I call cognitive sovereignty, the ability to think independently and maintain your own perspective, even when surrounded by opposing viewpoints or social pressure. The Sigma male develops his own thinking process, questions assumptions, and forms opinions based on evidence and personal experience rather than popular consensus. Consider the Sigma male who faces a major life crisis, job loss, relationship breakdown, or health challenge. While others might fall apart emotionally or make desperate decisions, he maintains his composure, analyzes the situation objectively, and creates a strategic response. His mental fortress provides the stability and clarity needed to navigate difficult circumstances effectively. The construction of this mental fortress involves several key components. First, the Sigma male develops what I call thought discipline, the ability to control his mental focus and direct his attention consciously. He doesn't allow his mind to wander into negative spirals, obsessive worrying, or unproductive rumination. Instead, he maintains mental discipline through practices like meditation, focused work, and conscious attention management. Second, he builds emotional armor, sophisticated strategies for managing emotions without being controlled by them. This includes techniques for managing anger, anxiety, fear, and sadness, while maintaining access to positive emotions like joy, enthusiasm, and love. He experiences the full range of human emotions, but isn't overwhelmed or paralyzed by them. Sigma male also develops what I call reality anchoring, a strong connection to objective truth that prevents him from being manipulated by emotional appeals, propaganda, or social pressure. He bases his decisions on facts, evidence, and logical analysis rather than wishful thinking, popular opinion, or emotional reactions. Practical mental fortress construction involves several daily practices. First, the Sigma male maintains a consistent routine of mental strengthening activities. This might include meditation, journaling, reading challenging material, or engaging in problem-solving exercises. These activities build mental muscle just like physical exercise builds physical strength. Second, he practices what I call stress inoculation, deliberately exposing himself to controlled stress and challenges to build resilience. This might involve cold showers, public speaking, physical challenges, or difficult conversations. By voluntarily facing discomfort, he builds confidence in his ability to handle whatever life presents. The Sigma male also develops perspective maintenance, the ability to maintain a balanced view of situations even when they're challenging or emotionally charged. He can zoom out to see the bigger picture, consider multiple viewpoints, and maintain hope even during difficult times. This prevents him from getting trapped in negative thought patterns or emotional spirals. Perhaps most importantly, he builds what I call identity fortification, an unshakable sense of self that doesn't depend on external validation or circumstances. His core identity is based on his values, character, and chosen principles rather than his roles, achievements, or social status. This creates stability even when external circumstances change dramatically. The mental fortress also includes defense mechanisms against manipulation and negative influence. The Sigma male develops the ability to recognize and resist attempts to manipulate him through guilt, fear, or social pressure. He maintains his own moral compass and decision-making process regardless of external pressure. This mental strength also enables what I call long-term optimization, the ability to make decisions based on long-term benefits rather than short-term comfort or pleasure. The Sigma male can delay gratification, persist through difficulties, and maintain focus on his goals even when progress is slow or obstacles are significant. The courage required for mental fortress construction is substantial because it means taking full responsibility for your mental state and emotional well-being. It means doing the difficult work of building psychological strength rather than hoping external circumstances will improve. It means facing your fears, weaknesses, and limitations honestly and working systematically to overcome them. Legacy-focused thinking. The 10th and final habit that separates the most courageous Sigma males from ordinary men is their commitment to legacy-focused thinking. This isn't about seeking fame or recognition. It's about making decisions based on their long-term impact and contribution to something greater than immediate personal gain. Most men think in terms of immediate gratification, quarterly results, or at best, a few years into the future. They make decisions based on what feels good now, what solves today's problems, or what provides short-term advantages. The Sigma male operates from a completely different time horizon, considering how his actions today will impact his life decades from now and what he'll leave behind for future generations. Legacy-focused thinking transforms every decision into a question of lasting value. Instead of asking, "What do I want right now?" the Sigma male asks, "What kind of man do I want to become? What impact do I want to have? What would I want to be remembered for?" This perspective creates a natural filter for decisions and actions that elevates every aspect of his life. This long-term perspective also creates what I call temporal courage, the willingness to sacrifice short-term comfort for long-term significance. The Sigma male understands that meaningful legacies require consistent effort over extended periods, often without immediate rewards or recognition. He's willing to plant trees whose shade he may never enjoy. Consider the Sigma male who chooses to build a business that solves real problems rather than one that generates quick profits. While others might focus on immediate returns, he's building something that will create value for years or decades. His legacy-focused thinking leads him to prioritize sustainability, ethics, and long-term impact over short-term gains. Legacy-focused thinking also influences how the Sigma male approaches relationships and personal development. He invests in relationships that will matter decades from now, rather than connections that provide immediate social benefits. He develops skills and knowledge that will compound over time rather than pursuing temporary advantages. The Sigma male's legacy focus extends to his impact on others. He considers how his actions, words, and example influence those around him, particularly younger people who might look up to him. He understands that his behavior doesn't just affect him, it ripples outward to impact others in ways he may never fully understand. Practical legacy-focused thinking involves several key practices. First, the Sigma male regularly engages in what I call future self-visualization, imagining himself at 70, 80, or 90 years old and considering what that future self would want him to do today. This perspective helps him make decisions that his future self will appreciate rather than regret. Second, he develops what I call impact awareness, a clear understanding of how his actions affect others and the world around him. He considers the consequences of his choices not just for himself, but for his family, community, and society. This awareness leads to more thoughtful and responsible decision-making. The Sigma male also practices legacy planning, consciously designing his life to create specific types of impact. This might involve choosing career paths that align with his values, developing skills that will benefit others, or creating something that will outlast his lifetime. He doesn't leave his legacy to chance. He actively constructs it through daily choices. Perhaps most importantly, he focuses on what I call character legacy, developing personal qualities that will define how he's remembered. Rather than pursuing external achievements for their own sake, he focuses on becoming the kind of person whose character inspires others and creates positive change. Legacy-focused thinking also influences the Sigma male's approach to learning and growth. He invests in knowledge and skills that will remain valuable throughout his lifetime, rather than chasing trends or superficial competencies. These 10 habits represent more than just behavioral changes. They're a complete paradigm shift toward authentic masculinity and self-leadership. The courageous Sigma male doesn't follow trends or seek approval. He creates his own path based on deep self-knowledge and unwavering commitment to his values. What makes these habits truly powerful is that they compound over time. Strategic solitude builds the foundation for emotional independence, which enables authentic self-expression, which attracts the right people into your selective social circle. Each habit reinforces the others, creating an integrated lifestyle that naturally generates respect, success, and fulfillment. Remember, developing these characteristics isn't about becoming antisocial or arrogant. It's about becoming so secure in yourself that you no longer need external validation to feel valuable. This inner confidence radiates outward and attracts opportunities, relationships, and experiences that align with your authentic self. The journey to becoming a high-value Sigma male requires patience, consistency, and above all, courage. It's easier to follow the crowd, seek constant approval, and live according to others' expectations.